Welcome back to the to episode 40 of the S Gilmore Story, and in fact the next part of the tour of Europe, the inaugural tour of Europe by S Gilmore and his band. So we're exploring this. He's finished in Paris. We're opening there with an idea of what he played in the opening concert in Paris. And we're also exploring what exactly happened. We don't really know in the Paris situation, other than the fact that the treasurer ran off with the money. We don't know why Fred Bent left in such a hurry. But here you have Gilmore's band in the Exposition, and for this they were praised by all of the publications here. Apart from a long article, it says appeared in the anti-American Gaulois, criticizing Gilmore's first concert at the Trocadero. However, down further, Le Figaro says the performance was remarkable for entrain and precision, and it created great enthusiasm amongst the audience. The Paris Journal confirms their appreciation. Here we have this reminder that the treasure of Gilmore's band leaves them penniless in Paris. And all of these articles are been copied and published across America. And so from an American perspective at this moment in time, it's not looking good. Meanwhile, in Paris, Emerson Bagley, who was one of the two remaining cornet players, highly talented from the famous Germania band, he was decorated with for his performances and given a presentation of a magnificent cornet called a Besson cornet. His partner in crime in the band, the other cornetist, Mr. Walter Emerson, was also praised throughout the tour. And in fact, later on in Kroll's Opera House, he was offered a contract with Kroll's Opera House to stay on for a number of months as the resident cornetist in Kroll's Opera House. So much praise there. Maybe Fred Bent didn't like all this praise. I don't know. And so, finished in Paris, they had raised extra money to finance the trip now to Germany, and off they were to Cologne. And the newspapers in Cologne, in not just Cologne, but Germany, were waiting with bated breath. What were these American representatives of music going to be like? And they would tour throughout Germany and play in public parks where Germans absolutely appreciated public performances. And each time they played, the crowds were overflowing. And there seemed to be nothing other than praise, very little criticism, and so on. Here's a typical advertisement in Germanic writing for Gilmore's band. And this one is obviously for Kroll's Theatre, or as we would call it, Kroll's Opera House in Berlin itself. That theatre used to sit right opposite the German Parliament, the Reichstag, which, like the Reichstag, was burned at one stage during World War II. Here's another advertisement for Kroll's Theatre, and what a compliment it was for the German people to open up their doors to this band. They knew something was afoot. They knew there was innovation. They knew there was imagination. And you'll see this mentioned in some of the writing now shortly. And here's the another part of the reporting about the European tour of Gilmore's band, and this time it's for their visit to Berlin. Um, uh, the the story at this time back in America is still Gilmore's band is broken up and so on and so forth. But here we have, I might sum up the great success of the band in Berlin by merely repeating the fact that the manager of Kroll's Garden was so charmed by their playing and convinced by their merit, by the public appreciation and enthusiasm, as to offer Mr. Gilmore liberal terms for a month's engagement. Imagine. That's how impressed they were. And that wasn't just the start of it. Here's an article that I would seriously ask everyone to put the documentary on hold and read it slowly, particularly the start of the article there, and the professor who is quoted at the start. At the very end, the strange sounds to the ear of this are the saxophones, which were very close imitations of the violoncello and viola in tone. And if our band expects to come up to the excellent quality of music given by this band, they should procure these instruments. What a compliment for the innovation of Gilmore. Here's a wonderful letter. Much esteemed Mr. Gilmore, allow me to repeat to you what I've already said after each of your concerts. Your band is of the first order. Its tone and time are extraordinary, combining a sublime softness and fullness. At the very end, Mr. Gilmore, you can, without fear, place your band on the same footing as the very best military orchestras of Europe, and America should appreciate this. Imagine, that's from the leader of the Kaiser's premier Kaiser Franz Grenadier Band. In Leipzig, they opened in the Suchenhaus garden with, of all pieces, Tannhauser. And I have one report which states that Mr. Wagner was in attendance and cried and laughed and cheered with excitement. Baron Hugo, one of the musicians in Gilmore's band, was recognized in Berlin by an elderly couple. It turns out that this couple was his parents, who he hadn't seen since he had to flee from Germany for non-payment of debts. But remember that this band was a German band, primarily. And here's an example of another advertisement of Gilmore's band in Deutschland. Now suddenly the reports are filtering home. This report in the Herald in New York says Gilmore's band is playing with great success in Germany, notwithstanding reports to the contrary. Very slowly. Here's a gentleman, a member of the band, called Jakob Rupp. Jakob was German. He had settled in America after finishing his service in the military in Prussia, and he joined Gilmore's band in the early 1870s, about 1873, 1874, along with the Irishman Miles Kavanagh. Kavanagh couldn't go because he had deserted. Jakob went. And here is a wonderful piece of memorabilia, lovingly minded by his family in America today. And it is the actual chest which were custom built for all of the musicians individually, and each of them were outfitted with such a chest for their gear, for their clothes, for their instruments, and so on and so forth. Here it says Jakob Rupp on the side there. And on the end, we've got the information, Gilmore's famous New York band. Imagine, It has survived 144 years, and it was obviously minded lovingly, not only by Jacob, but all of his descendants. A fantastic piece of musical memorabilia, which one wouldn't expect to have survived so long. But it is wonderful. They were outfitted with different dress uniforms and so on for different performances. Here's the label from J.J. Schuff's in New York, who made all of the luggage for Gilmore. And again, even to see this. And lastly, you can imagine Jakob's excitement going back to Germany, probably seeing his family and so on, but seeing the places he enjoyed as a child and as a young man and so on and so forth. And he brought back a piece of memorabilia from Nuremberg. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please click like and subscribe. I'll be back next week with more about the European tour of Gilmore's band, the very first tour of any American organization, almost 25 years before anyone would follow him. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good one, and bye.